John McCain didn't make it. How the hell did John McCain lose to this guy? You know, I couldn't believe it. So I got angry, and I started researching things, and I found all these different things, which led me to Alex Jones. You know, that's usually where most people start in conspiracies, is Alex Jones. So led me to this video called the Obama Deception. And I started watching this video, and it's a 2-hour documentary. And I watched this documentary probably 20 times. I had a legal pad, a full-size yellow legal pad, filled from front to back with questions and just things that were grabbing me as I was watching this. My wife thought I was losing my mind at the time. And she just was staring at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm laying in bed with a laptop on my lap at 2:30 in the morning with a legal pad in my lap, writing down all these questions. And that's what began it for me. And as I moved through it, I learned, you know, hey, Alex Jones, I kind of moved away from him now because he's supporting Trump. That just doesn't add up. How does the biggest conspiracy guy support Donald Trump? Yeah. You know, that's a whole other direction we can go. Anyway, like I said, I starburst a lot. I've got some Sabuca and Cigar City, so you can take control of me if you need to.
No, you know, we talked about how we're going to, you know, take in your rants and whatnot tonight, and we just want to pick your brain and let you go, you know, if that's cool with you. I've got a list of questions to ask you about. I kind of want to go back just real quick because we were talking about it earlier. Back to the chemtrails and the contrails, just to explain to people the difference. Now, aren't the contrails like water vapor and aerosol, but the chemtrails have some kind of different chemical compound so it doesn't evaporate? And they were talking about, you know, dimming the planet so that people don't get melanoma cancer and stop the effects of global warming and things like that. What are your real thoughts on that? I mean, do you believe what the ICA is saying, or do you think that they're just pumping a bunch of bullshit out there and they have their own agenda?
Well, keep in mind, I've believed in chemtrails since about 2009, 2010. I've studied them. I've looked into them. We've always called it an aerosol. And I don't know, you said you listened to my show from the 22nd where I did my big rant about the new study that came out. Is that the one you heard where I was talking about the chemtrails and the aerosols?
Exactly, yeah. And it's funny, it's kind of ironic that, you know, aerosol in the 60s and 70s, you know, put, you know, holes in the ozone and whatnot, but now they're using aerosol to supposedly fix it. It's weird, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think the point I'm trying to make is the chemtrail people, the people that have been watching these things for about 10 years now, since they've really gotten to the level that we're seeing, we've always used the term aerosol. Now, if you go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years in the chemtrail argument, everybody always says it's nothing but water, you know, it's nothing but water and ice. That's all it is. It's nothing else. And then all of a sudden we're hearing this aerosol being introduced, which, again, is a terminology that the geoengineering chemtrail watchers have used for a long time, the aerosol word. Mm-hmm. Are they adding it to the fuel? See, and this is where it gets really hard, because we're hypothesizing on how this could happen, how they might be doing this. There's patents out there. There's fuel additive patents. There's patents for engine parts, different things that connect this all together. Right. So, are they adding it to the fuel? Are they injecting it post fuel into the engine at the combustion cell? See, we don't know. That's the part we don't know.
That's why I'm confused about it. You know, like they don't seem to explain anything, even when people ask. You know, they're not coming clean. You know what I mean?
Well, the government's never going to come clean. The government and the companies that are doing it are never going to come clean. It's very easy. If you type in, one of your guys sitting there right now, if you guys are at a computer, just go to Google. Type in, let's type in geoengineering companies or weather modification companies. One of those two search terminologies. You will come up with a list of companies that sell weather modification that will promise your wedding will be perfectly clear. Or maybe you want a snowy wedding. They'll give you snow on your wedding.
That's amazing.
There's companies out there that promote this. They're on the internet selling it. So are these the companies that are spraying these things up there? Are these the companies that are what we call NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are funded by government to produce these things, to experiment with these things? that story I was reading, it's a Smithsonian.com story. I'm looking at it right now. It's called the Airplane Contrails May Be Creating Accidental Geoengineering.
Yeah,
that's the story I was reading in that show you listen to.
Yeah, I recall.
And it's amazing as you read through it. They're literally laying out exactly what the people like Michael J. Murphy, G. Edward Griffin, these guys have all been looking into this for literally almost a decade now, which is about, they've been experimenting with it for a long, long time. They've been experimenting with it, I'd say, about 20 to 25 years.
Yeah,
you'll see it randomly.
I'm looking at it right now on Wikipedia, and yeah, there's cloud seeding. There's all kinds of things that storm prevention that it does date back quite a bit. 1958, 62 to 83, the government was involved. So yeah, MIT was involved too. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong about it.
The easiest way to prove it, one of the most provable things that we can control weather. Forget chemtrails, forget HARP, forget any of that stuff. That we can produce the effect of weather that we want to produce is all you have to go to is Vietnam. What did they do in Vietnam? They cloud seeded to flood the Ho Chi Minh Trail to try to stop. This is on record. This is provable. This is not even questionable. Mm-hmm. They cloud seeded to flood the Ho Chi Minh Trail to try to stop the flow of supplies.
Amazing, So you don't have to go back too far to figure it out, or at least to get an edge on it, Unbelievable.
And listen, I'm not telling people to take my word for it. My co-host, Forto Jones, he used to be one of my co-hosts when I did my show on Saturday. Great guy. We agree on 95% of things. This is the one thing we do not agree on. It's chemtrails. Yeah. We can't come to an agreement on it. He thinks I'm crazy. I think he's crazy. We go back and forth about it. And that's the hardest thing because as older people, I mean, really, I want you to go back to when you were 10 years old. Do you ever remember seeing big, long, crossing lines, checkerboards in the sky, fading into just this haze over you? Do you ever remember that?
I grew up in Chicago, and I was 10 in 1985, and maybe around that time I can remember seeing a trail from a plane, but not in any kind of a pattern, and not like we looked outside today over Pasco County, and they're all over the place, just this afternoon. You know what I mean?
Guys, I just got to say, Sean, it's Jaber here, and I have a tough time remembering what I did yesterday. So,
Yeah, that's the Quaaludes, man.
10's killing me.
He used to know Bill Cosby back then, so he's still got a stash from back then.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
But so, I love the intelligence that you're bringing to our show because we lack this a lot of times. We just try to be funny, and I appreciate everything you're saying. So.
Yeah, Pops is over there saying the same thing, man. He was getting all up on us in the first hour about how we're, save that stuff for private conversation. He's getting all pissed off.
I like to have these kind of conversations. You know what? This is the thing that is interesting about what I do, or just about conspiracies in general, if we're going to use that term.
I was going to say something to you. I almost hate the term conspiracy. I mean, it's more like realistic ideology. It's not conspiracy. I don't like to say it that way because it makes it sound like it's not true. And so much of what you're saying, there's definite,
some truth to it. Maybe
there's definite truth to it. And
95% of it is government covered.
Not to interrupt
there's
you,
questions to be had with it. I appreciate that, man. I really do. And I use the term conspiracy, I guess, because I've been labeled with it. And I don't know if you guys ever knew this, but in the 1960s, the CIA kind of started using that term to try to push away some of these things that were going on.
Dumb it down.
That's really where the.
No,
what's that?
I said like they're trying to dumb it down a little bit or something, and they make it sound like
unbelievable.
Yeah, so that the people that are questioning it are wrong for questioning it. Now we're all conspiracy theorists or something crazy,
All right, Sean, we're gonna have to. I do want to bring up one subject with you, and then we might kind of have to get moving. But
he's gonna have to get moving.
What about Roswell?
Yeah, what do you think of aliens, Area 51? Let's go down the list with you. Okay?
Okay, that works for me, yeah. Aliens are something that was probably one of the first things I started researching as a kid.
Nice.
I believe I've seen a ship. I was about, what was I? I think 19 or 20. I grew up in about 2 acres in South Jersey, right outside the Wharton State Forest. And I was sitting out back of my house, my parents' house. I was having a few beers, I won't lie, but it was this ship just like went over me. It was crazy. It was I ran inside. I'm like, I think an alien ship just went over us. Now, we were near McGuire Air Force Base, like I said. We were about 25, 30 miles out, but we were in the flight path. Yeah. So could it have been a C-5? Possibly. But I've never, I grew up, around military stuff. I grew up on military bases, doing training as a kid. Yada, yada, yada. So I know what aircraft sound like. I've been to air shows,
Yeah.
So it didn't sound like an aircraft to me. When it comes to the alien question, I absolutely believe that if you look up in the sky and you honestly think that where we live is the only place an intelligent life form is, you've got a major problem because there's not even an intelligent life form here. So
I like you, buddy. I like you now, for sure.
That's good stuff.
Absolutely.
All right.
Does George Adamski mean anything to you?
Pops, he can't hear you because you're like, oh, maybe he could hear you.
Did he say Georgia Guidestones, did he say?
George Adamski.
George Adamski? I don't know.
George Adamski. It rings a bell, but you know how many names come and go out of my head on a daily basis?
All right.
This guy supposedly took a trip to Venus with a extraterrestrial.
Took a trip to Venus with an extraterrestrial. That's definitely believable, Pops.
Well, there's also the story. Pops might know the story. I forget the guy's name, but he claims that he had a shootout in a secret bunker with aliens.
Awesome.
This was, I think, like late 70s, early 80s. He claimed this. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that.
I never
story.
heard about that, but it doesn't surprise me. I'd mess up some aliens.
Good evening, sir. I'm one of the gentlemen that participate in this. I'm homeless Chuck. How are you, buddy?
Good, Chuck. How you doing?
Good. I'm trying to think back on the book that I read about the guy that went through progressive hypnotism, and it went back and back through a variety of lives, and the hypnotist actually was able to document these events occurred, and then it finally went all the way back to where he was actually like part of like the Sumerian race, and actually was able to establish references to the dog star and such. And then there's so many other religions, like the dogmas out in Africa. They had a duality religion about them, and they didn't realize until the 70s that was actually a dual star. There's a lot of stuff that I'd love to touch base on this at one point.
Well, see, and I was answering the alien question, but see, I don't really. These things are things I don't focus on because, although I do believe, and I want to make sure this is clear, I do believe there's other life forms in this universe. I believe there's a lot of other life forms within our own galaxy. But that's things that I cannot
control or be involved in. I got you.
Right, and I'm not trying to poo-poo it or anything, and I know other people that like to talk about it that I could definitely connect you with.
Right, but we can only influence our here and now.
Speaking of here and now,
exactly. So that's what I focus on.
Right, I got you. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it, man.
Homeless Chuck's going to go back behind that dumpster. That's great. All right, how about something that everybody's familiar with? Tony Stewart. Do you think he murdered that guy on the dirt track?
Excuse me, sorry. I was taking a hit of my e-cigarette at the time, and I'm fighting off this cold. You know what? Racing, dude. Shit happens, and why didn't the dude just stay in his car where he should have been? That's my personal opinion on it.
I agree, but if you look at that video, he kind of throttles him a little bit, and then
no way.
I don't think he meant to kill him, but he throttled him, dude. He totally throttled him.
He couldn't even see him, man.
Hey, remember when I've never driven one of those cars, but people that do drive those cars tell you that to steer them, sometimes you have to throttle.
True. I heard that argument, and that is a great argument. It really is.
You're looking left. The guy came off from his right. He wasn't looking to his right. He was turning left.
In the video, man,
turn left.
Tony Stewart, he goes up the track a little bit, like he's going at him.